learners to the SWAYAM portal. This is module 9 under week 3 program. The topic of today's discussion is challenges of environmental education with special focus on teachers training institutes. I am Dr. Nakhat Nasreen from Department of Education, Aligarh Muslim University. As you know, worldwide efforts are being made in order to promote environmental education at all levels of education, right from very beginning, that is nursery through middle, higher secondary and higher education level. But in spite of all global efforts being made, still today a critical worldwide shortage of teachers is felt in the area of environmental education. As you know, teachers are the backbone of any education system, and it is teachers who can bring changes in their students' behavior. And with regard to behavior modification, the teacher training institutes are vital. They play a very important role in bringing about such changes. So, teachers in general and in the teachers training institutes in particular are lacking with the necessary competencies to effectively incorporate the environmental dimensions in educational programs. In our country, very few teachers training institutes have incorporated the elements of environmental education into their curriculum. Teachers training institutes require training of all teachers in environmental education. When we come to the problem of incorporating environmental education in our teacher training program, we need to know what are the essential requirements or what are the changes that we want to bring in the program of teacher training. So, the first one is that the aims of teacher training institute need to be redefined so as to incorporate environment related issues. The environment is changing. All physical processes and natural processes and phenomena on the earth are also in the process of change. As the world is changing, the environment is changing, so we also need to change the aims and objectives of teachers training institutes in order to redefine the same and to help our students become efficient citizens and members of the society to deal with the environmental issues and the problems which are around us. We need to design a new curriculum which is according to the aims and objectives of environmental education. And in order to include the relevant concepts related to our environment, we need to bring some changes in the curriculum and relatedly methods of teaching also. After designing a new curriculum, we need to provide to our teachers the quantum of knowledge which is worth, and therefore, we need to enrich them with environmental issues and the problems associated with it. In order to catering to the needs of developing necessary skills, attitudes and values in teacher trainees, we need to develop a new pedagogy and a new methodology of teaching. So, next in the line, we need to develop infrastructure and sufficient material aid on environment. Now, I would like to discuss in detail the aims and objectives of environmental education. It is of utmost importance to understand first the aims and objectives of environmental education. The very famous Tbilisi conference, which was held in 1977 and was organized by UNESCO, has brought some clear cut aims and objectives with reference to environmental education. Now, the first aim that was discussed thoroughly in the Tbilisi conference was to foster clear awareness of and concern about economic, social, political and ecological interdependence in urban and rural areas. So, to provide every person with opportunities to acquire the knowledge and develop desirable values, positive attitudes towards environment and commitment for the mother nature are the necessary skills that we need to develop in our students. Another important aim is to create new patterns of behavior of individuals, groups and society as a whole towards the environment. There is a close relationship between man and society, as it has been said by eminent poet Dr. Allama Iqbal, फ़र्द कायम रब्त मिल्लत से है, तन्हा कुछ नहीं, मौज है दरिया में और बैरून दरिया कुछ नहीं. The individual owes its strength by being in the society, alone he is nothing, and society is also existing because of the individuals. The Tbilisi conference has further categorized the environmental education into more details, and in an hierarchical order the objectives are arranged as awareness, knowledge, attitude, skills and participation. So far as the first level objective, that is awareness, is concerned, there is a need to help social groups and individuals acquire an sensitivity to the total environment and its allied problems is a must for us in order to protect and conserve our environment. At the second level of hierarchy, we have knowledge. In comparison to awareness, knowledge rests at a higher level of complexity. In knowledge, we need to gather relevant information about the social groups and individuals in a variety of environmental problems, and we need to acquire a basic understanding of the environment and its associated problems. The problems of environment vary from individual to individual, from locality to locality and from region to region. So, it is better to have a close look around us and to understand what are the nearby problems which we face in our vicinity. At the third level, we have attitudes. To help social groups and individuals acquire a set of values and feelings of concern for the environment and the motivation for actively participating in environmental improvement and protection is very important nowadays. Unless and until we develop requisite attitudes, proper concern towards our environment, we cannot become in action for solving these problems. At the fourth level comes the skills. So far as environmental skills are concerned, we need to help social groups and individuals acquire the basic skills for identifying and solving environmental problems. Next to skills, we have the concept of participation. All of us should take active participation and should play active role in solving the problems related to our environment. Therefore, to provide social groups and individuals with an opportunity to be actively involved at all levels in working towards the solution of environmental problems is the basic necessity and therefore one of the very important aims and objectives of environmental education. As you see in this picture, the environmental education objectives are categorized into various levels. At the lowest level, we have awareness, next to awareness we have knowledge, then attitude, then skills, and finally participation. As we have discussed the importance of environmental education in education, especially in teachers training institutes, we need to know what are the causes of weak environmental education program in teachers training institutes. First of all, the major cause of weak environmental education in teachers training institutes is insufficient teacher preparation. Teachers of today in teachers training institutes are not prepared enough to provide environmental education and to develop necessary skills in their students. Secondly, the curriculum which is being practiced in these teachers training institutes is inadequate and insufficient. It has not included the sufficient material, and it is not updated, it is not playing its role to achieve the targets of environmental education. So, this also needs to be modified. Thirdly, a non-comprehensive training program in environmental education is prevailing in teachers training institutes. There is a need of revising the entire training program so as to incorporate the elements of environmental education in practice teaching as well as in theoretical part of teacher training curriculum. Lack of positive attitude is also felt in teachers to adapt environmental education. The teachers themselves are not aware of and skilled enough to provide environmental education to their students. So, they need to develop a positive attitude in themselves to adapt environmental education. Inadequate methods of teaching and inadequate infrastructural facilities are also one of the major causes of weak environmental education in teachers training institutes. India is a country where most of its population lives in rural background. 70% of the people are living in rural areas. So, the environmental education is not limited only to urban background or to urban cities. Both rural and urban areas need to be educated about environment. Another important factor is parents' education, and their less cooperation is also a major factor of weak environmental education. Socio-economic status is another important factor. The poor people of our country cannot live a healthy life, and they are dwelling with poor quality of life because of their poor economic conditions. And education is the only means which can bring about changes in their lifestyle, which can bring about better quality of life to them. There are causes of inadequate knowledge of teachers about environment, lack of environmental awareness among teachers about environmental problems, poor infrastructural facilities, lack of expertise and experiences in teachers, lack of skills in teachers to teach about the environment. The first thing that we need to change in our system, specifically in teachers training institutes, is redefining of aims and objectives. We need to bring changes in aims and objectives. We need to make environmental education program more awareness based and it should be an interdependence between ecological, physical, social, economic, political and cultural forces and systems. Such an awareness is required in our students, which bring together the problems related to our environment, and by being aware of the network of these problems which are interdependent, we should seek solutions to these problems. So, we need to redefine aims and objectives. Secondly, we need to acquire sufficient knowledge and necessary desirable skills in our teachers to protect the environment and to conserve the environment. Nowadays, we have shifted the concept of environmental education for mere preserving it to sustainable development. It is a time that we should sustain life, we should prolong our healthy life on this environment day by day. Because of over consumption and over utilization of natural resources, we have deteriorated our environment and we are at the verge of extinction of many facilities. So, side by side of the development, which is also very important, we need to conserve our environment and we need to sustain life. So, an equilibrium is desired between development and conservation. So, we need to develop a commitment towards environment and we need to develop desirable skills in our teachers to protect and conserve the environment. We need to develop commitment towards environment and we need to develop desirable skills to protect and conserve our environment. We need to create a new pattern of behavior in our students. As we have already discussed that the entire gamut on this earth is a mutual relation of individual with his society. Both the individual and society form the necessary component and part of this life. Both are important. The differences and similarities of environment cannot be denied. All over the world, the conditions of environment are not the same. Different regions are provided with different kinds of resources. So, we should develop in accordance with the nature. We should develop according to the facilities which are provided to us, and there should not be a comparison. There should not be a greed during the process of development that we compete with others, and we should not compete with others at the cost of their life. So, the differences and similarities of environment should be realized and we should conserve the ecology, the nature, we should conserve the various natural resources and we should conserve the mother nature. In order to understand the similarities and differences of our environment, an outdoor education and recreation is also important. We should bring our children to the nearby areas of environmental concern. We should make a trip for outdoor education and we should also provide recreational facilities to our students. Learners, as we have discussed about the challenges in aims and objectives with regard to incorporating environmental education in teachers training program. Next in the relation is challenges regarding new curriculum design. So far as new curriculum design is concerned, we require to include some of the major changes, that is consideration of environment in its totality. We should take environment as a lifelong process. Nowadays, the important discussion is on quality of life and quality of environment. We should develop a quality life. We should try to provide to our children a quality life, and a quality life is that life in which the individual lives with satisfaction. It should be an interdisciplinary work, and environmental education should be taught as an interdisciplinary approach, in which all the disciplines which are related to each other should be taught about the environmental issues in coherence with each other. Secondly, it should emphasize active participation of students. They should work together, they should work in groups, and they should work in projects to find out the problems of environment in their nearby areas, in their vicinity, and they should work together to find out the solutions of these problems. It should be a dynamic process. An active participation of the individual is required, and in order to participate in the problems of our environment, we should focus on our own community. We should try to realize the problems of our community, of our vicinity that we come across immediately. The new curriculum also has a challenge of diverse learning environments. The curriculum cannot be same for all, because the environmental problems are also not the same. Different environments have different problems. People living in various parts of the world come across with different problems of their environment. So, there cannot be a uniform curriculum, and we need to develop and design a curriculum which is diverse in nature. The environmental education should be activity based, and therefore, it should be flexible also. Challenges regarding methodology. In order to teach about environmental education, various modifications are needed in pedagogy and methodology. Like, environmental education should preferably require activity based learning, projects in the form of individual as well as group projects. It should require community based education which has to be practiced in nearby areas. It should focus on getting first hand experience by visiting the vicinity. It should realize the students to go into the community and see the problems by themselves and get a first hand experience of environmental problems. Last but not the least, our children should be educated about assessment and evaluation of environmental problems. The children of today are the citizens of tomorrow. So, they should be trained in such a manner that they develop in themselves desired assessment and evaluation characteristics. They need to develop the capacity of assessment and evaluation of their environment, so that they may seek solutions to those problems. During implementation of environmental education program in our teachers training institutes, we face various difficulties like time limitation. In a 1 or 2 year of course, it is really difficult to incorporate all such activity based program in teachers training institutes. Lack of cooperation from the community is another hurdle. Problems of safety while carrying out the projects is another important problem. When we take our children outside in the community, in the vicinity, there is a problem of safety. So, the government and other persons related to safety are responsible for those things. Problems of discipline is also there. Lack of skills in teachers for conducting projects and for conducting community based education is another important difficulty which is faced by these teachers training institutes. Then lack of enthusiasm and motivation both in students and teachers is felt. The environmental education is a costly affair and we are running short of funds, we are lacking funds to incorporate environmental education in teachers training institutes. There are challenges regarding evaluation also. Evaluation is the last but very important aspect of any education system. When we set certain objectives of any educational program or affair, in the end of that program we need to evaluate it, and for evaluating any educational program we need certain special skills to develop desirable test and to interpret the results. So, any educational program requires sound procedures of assessment and evaluation in order to check the learning outcomes of the learners. Following difficulties are faced in evaluation system in teachers training institutes with regard to environmental education, that is lack of skills in teachers to frame the template for evaluation, lack of skills and training to develop suitable testing and evaluation techniques, and lack of skills in teachers to interpret the results of learning of their students. So, learner, today we have discussed one of the very important issues related to environmental education, that is challenges of environmental education. We know that environmental education has emerged as a field of learning of utmost necessity and value, and a deep concern has been felt throughout the world regarding environmental education and sustainable development. The goals of environmental education are also shifting towards maintaining an equilibrium between quality of life and quality of development. We need to redesign the aims and objectives of environmental education. We need to develop skills in teacher, and we need to develop our teachers as most powerful tool to shape students in transforming them to an environmentally oriented, conscious and responsible citizen to play a significantly desired role towards protection and conservation of environment and to sustain a healthy life and well-being on this earth. Thank you for patience listening.